Welcome everybody to the 2025 Gallery of Guitar competition. We are so delighted to be back with incredibly talented players for the next, couple of days. It's a weekend of music, and I am delighted to be joined again by my co-host, Kate Botello. Hey, Kate.
Hello, Matthew. I am so excited. We've got an incredible lineup. These performers are always wonderful. It's going to be exciting once more. Can't wait.
I know, it's great. It was an inaugural year last year. We just got going for the first time, and we had such a great level. And we also just had such great fun celebrating all these young players. So just a little bit about the format before we get going. There's 8 players that you're going to hear this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And in each heat, there'll be 8 players. So there's 3 heats, 1 today and 2 tomorrow. So make sure to have subscribed to Gallery of Guitar so you get a notification so you can check out the other performances. And those players are all ready to go. Their videos have been sent in and they're absolutely fantastic. And then we have a live jury who we're about to introduce, who will chat through the performances after we play them. And then once it's all said and done, Kate and I will come back on later on in the week and announce the finalists who come live in person to the Classical Guitar Retreat in St Andrews, Scotland, and perform in July. That final was incredible, Kate, last year.
Oh, man, it was. That's just an amazing concert because you're already guaranteed to have these fabulous performers, and then you get the top of the top here, and it is just stunning.
Exactly, it's fantastic. So the Classical Guitar Retreat runs in July, and it's a residential summer course all about classical guitar. On the Sunday, we will have the finalists of this competition come to give us, as Kate said, a beautiful concert, a wonderful performance. And last year it was won by a fantastic German guitarist, Eugen Treckel, who comes this year to perform at the retreat as part of his prize and also do some teaching as well. So this is a great opportunity for players to get a leg up on the professional ladder and start to get in amongst all of that work that they can get out there in the real world after they stop studying.
Well, and that real world thing, our judges give real world advice that is incredibly helpful. And even if you aren't competing, you should pay attention to what they say because it is useful across the board.
Exactly. So without further ado, we're going to actually say hello to our judges and bring them into the stream so that we can hear from them and see what they're doing. We have some judges in our pool this year who actually adjudicated last year, so you'll see some friendly and familiar faces. But first of all, I want to introduce a new member to our jury pool, Tracy Ann Smith.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We're delighted that you can join us, Tracy. So, Tracy, tell us, where are you right now in the world? Where are you joining us
I'm in sunny St. John's, Newfoundland, which is in the east coast of Canada. Actually, it's the very east coast of Canada. So it's pretty amazing time of year right now. We have icebergs coming through and the whales are on their way. So it's a pretty fantastic place to live.
Sounds gorgeous. Sounds absolutely beautiful. It's great to have you with us and great to have you lending your expertise and your ears and sharing your feedback for all these young players. I know Kate on her Instagram feed, you've been sharing clips of pieces from our jury members for the last week, Kate, yeah?
Yeah, I really wanted the audience to know who they're dealing with and that they were hearing the absolute cream of the crop of guitarists so that they understood where this advice was going to be coming from. And it's been a real treat for my ears too, just to listen to all of your works this week. So
well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I just like to say here in St. John's, we have a university, Memorial University of Newfoundland, and I teach guitar here. And we're trying to get some exciting new guests here, and it's going pretty well so far. I've been teaching here for a couple of years, and while it's made it a little bit more difficult for my duo, we're making it happen. Matthew, you would know about the long distance duo thing, I guess.
I can totally feel your pain there. You know, I mean, your chroma duo is fantastic, you and Robin, and it's amazing. I love your recordings, and I really feel for you having to do that, you know, long distance musical relationship. You can only rehearse just before the gig, I guess, is the feeling, you know. Well, let's move on to introducing another judge. I'd like to introduce Dr. Stephen Mattingly. He is also with us, was here last year as well. So, Stephen, welcome to the gang.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be back, and thanks for having me. I'm here in my office at the University of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky, where we're looking forward to hosting the Guitar Foundation of America convention next month in June. And we'll have you, Matthew, as part of the
Yes.
Cox and McAllister duo here. And then after that, I'll be moving on to Tallahassee to begin my new role as guitar professor at Florida State University.
Yes, congratulations. Big congratulations, eh? I mean, I'm sure you're sort of torn. I'm sure you're in two places. It's always like that with these things.
That's right. Yeah, this place will always have a special place in my heart. The University of Louisville has been great to me, and it's where I started my career and where I started my guitar studies. This very studio, when I was a young student, was the first guitar lesson I had right here in the studio.
Oh, that's so lovely. Well, it'll be a big bash this summer then with the GFA.
Yes,
you'll have a great sort of party to say cheerio.
We will. Looking
Definitely
forward to that very much. Yeah.
Great, smashing. Well, we'll move on to our third judge of the evening, the wonderful Emma Rush.
Hello, nice to see you all. Nice to be back again.
Great to see you, Emma. Thanks for coming back. You were so fantastic last year. We really enjoyed your feedback, and you added so much comedy to the proceedings last year. We absolutely loved it. So I'm putting you under pressure. I want the joke to just be flying out again this year.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best.
No pressure.
Yeah.
None at all. Where are you dialing in from? Where are you tuning in from tonight?
Oh, I'm joining you today from, the opposite end of Canada, from Tracy. So I'm up in the Rocky Mountains in Nelson, British Columbia, where we have no icebergs, but there are quite a lot of bears walking around this time of year. So there's black bears and grizzly bears, and they could be walking by my place right now.
I love it. It's turning into a nature documentary as we speak.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. It's going to be a really great evening of music, and I think we can start to let everybody hear some of the fantastic talent that they're going to see and hear on display. Now, remember, for those of you watching, you're part of this as well. We want to hear from you, so you can always share support for these young players by way of comments. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, make a comment on the video, and of course, I will show it, I will share it, maybe some questions about competitions and things like that, or repertoire that you hear. Just feel free to, comment and be part of it and show your appreciation for the players as we go. And I'm going to hand over to Kate now to introduce our first performer of the evening.
All right, up first, we have Amamira Pranzel from Austria, and she's going to be playing us a couple of pieces. We'll hear some J.S. Bach and some Martin Schley. And I love this. We asked them different questions about themselves. She's going to be playing a spruce double top guitar, bought in March via her neighbor. So just kind of had a lot of connections and lucked into this guitar, and she absolutely loves it. And a fun fact about Amamira Pranzel, her favorite animals are shrimps. She finds them incredibly cute. So there you have it. Adorable shrimp from a brilliant guitar player. Wonderful. We are off to such a strong start. Let's kind of go backward and into forward. So we'll start with that Schley Etude number 5. Steve Mattingly, why don't you go first and give Amira some notes on that piece?
Well, yeah, just incredible performance all around. And for me, that piece is new. I am not familiar with that particular etude before hearing it today. And something that I noticed was the sense of control and ease that was there. Very little superfluous sound from string noise or nail clicks and things like that. Just very pure tone, and a good tone at that. Very, very good tone. Handled the scordatura very well. And I thought the etude itself is often a problem, as etudes are they a concert piece? Are they something to study? And we hear a concert level performance out of this piece. Other than being titled Etude 5, I would think it's absolutely appropriate to let your mind wander in imagination of what kind of programmatic piece it might be. And I thought there was a lot of imagination brought to it, not merely a study alone, in other words.
Okay. Thank you. Those are great notes. That's really, really helpful for Amira. Tracy, any thoughts on the Bach from this performance?
Absolutely. For me, that was very strong playing. I really enjoyed the shaping of both movements. I thought it was really paced well. If I was going to be a little bit critical, I would say in the beginning, perhaps some of the quicker notes were bogged down slightly, but obviously this performer is more than capable of making that happen based on the allegro. So it might have just been a nerves thing or being a bit cold. But yeah, that's not an easy piece or couple of movements to start with. And I felt that was a very strong performance. In the allegro, I thought it had an especially good control of the voicings, and adding in the ornamentation was extremely effective. Mm-hmm. And there was a nice sense of dialogue within that movement. So yeah, that was a wonderful start, I would say.
Well, excellent. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, great comments already. Wow. I hope Amira, I'm sure, is listening and taking a lot of that on board. It was really a great way to start. The way that the competitors were chosen to perform in each heat was done with a complete random generator, a randomizer. And we absolutely lucked out there with Amira's fantastic performance. And just look at the chat. While Amira was playing, it was just full of really interesting comments. So for a lot of these players, maybe it's the first time that some of these audience members will be exposed to their playing, their performance. Indeed, the Schley piece that I don't think any of us knew. I certainly didn't know, and Stephen and Emma, did you know that piece, Emma? Was that for? No, exactly. So, I mean, it's great to hear new music as well, and thank you for bringing it to us, Amira. That was wonderful. Also, great plants. I'm a big believer in having plants in your practice space, and there was plenty greenery. Emma, you are doing the same thing. Look at that. Look at those green plants behind you. It's excellent. So just fantastic way to start the evening's performance. And now we move on to our second performer. And our second performer actually competed last year and made the grand final in Scotland, which was absolutely amazing. Kianush Robeson. And it was just amazing, to watch the heat, as we're all doing tonight, the performance that's pre-recorded, and then get the chance to hear Kianush come to Scotland and perform. He's from Bexhill-on-Sea in the UK, in England, and he's chosen to play Estudio San Luz by Andres Segovia, and then Prelude by Frank Martin, and the Tonadilla by Castelnuovo Tedesco. And what he's got to say about the pieces is quite interesting. They're all linked to Segovia, obviously the sort of grandfather of our classical guitar. And they showcase three aspects of his influence, something that Kianush finds very important when considering any aspect of guitar playing today. So a dedication in the Tonadilla to Segovia. He started the creation of modern repertoire and a rejection of dedication in the Martin. Segovia was flawed, and his dislike for modern harmonies led him to reject many brilliant works, and his ability as a composer, showing his desire to contribute to every aspect of the classical guitar. So there's a sort of mirror or a reflection of the personality and all of that energy that Segovia put into getting some pieces written for our instrument. His guitar is built by Philip Woodfield and Oliver Moore. Very special to him. It has a unique, colourful sound with excellent projection. He would like us to say hello to all of his pupils around the country who he sees online, at home, and at the Royal Grammar School in High Wycombe. So hello to all of Kianush's students. I hope you're all watching, and I hope you're really going to enjoy a performance by your teacher. You'll be very proud. And for our comical question of the evening, the favourite pizza toppings, he would like his pizza to have a white sauce base, controversial, I know, plenty of cheese, and favourite extra topping would have to be an egg. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go. So here we are, Kianush Robeson.
Beautifully done, Kianush.
Oh, bravo! What a start! What a start we're having to this heat. Really fantastic. Emma, I'd love to come to you first and get your thoughts there on what Kianush put together there, because there was more to that than just a sort of arbitrary collection of pieces. What do you think about his programming that's happening there?
Well, I loved it, and I love a concert program that sort of tells a story and has a flow that really makes sense. And I think, like, when you're programming for a competition, sometimes, you know, a competition will have like a 7-minute first round and you kind of just have to throw your best tune out there. But when you have a good chunk of time like this, you can really sort of craft your program so it's like a mini concert almost. And then you get to sort of use that to show who you are as an artist beyond even the playing. And I think Kianush did a really good job of sort of using that that opportunity to show some really thoughtful programming and you know, show us a program that was full of contrast, but that really hung together with a storyline.
That's very interesting to hear. I think you're absolutely right. Those are great comments for the players watching about the fact that the programming takes it beyond just you and playing your guitar. Like you say, it takes it to something else. It creates something even more special for the listener. And I think we all witnessed that as well, because you really get drawn into Kianush's way of playing.
Yeah,
so
it's really beautiful to see. And Stephen, my question for you, as Emma said, this helps you see who Kianush is as an artist. How did that reflect in a technical sense?
Oh, technically very well handled. There are a lot of challenges in these pieces. In the Segovia studio, there are moments of shifting that cause challenges to connect the line, and he handled that very well. Even the lyricism in the Tedesco, most especially, he handled that, I think, brilliantly. So this is something for those who might be watching who aren't trained classical guitarists. It's something that we often have to seek to disguise the fact that it's an instrument very difficult to make legato, and he did it quite well here and had approached it with such sensitivity. And I'll add another thing on the programming question. I thought it was pretty clever that he was able to find not only the Segovia connection, but also the centricity of the pitch B between the Estudio and the Martin. And the Martin, that's a piece I've played for years and plan to record on Sacred Black recordings later. And thought he did a brilliant job with that prelude. Great, and as Emma said, great arc, dramatic arc to the programming here.
That's a very interesting point you make, even just about like key relationships and note relationships as you progress from one piece to the next. Tracy, I wouldn't mind bringing you in here a little bit on that, because I know you've done a lot of recording in your duo as well. And I'm wondering, like, that's something that quite often I think young artists and young students maybe don't think about, how to put things beside each other. You know, we're talking a lot about programming, but what about that, those key relationships and those sonic concerns that we've got to think about? Oh, I think we can't quite hear you chatting away there. So we'll hear you. There you are.
Smart things. No, I was just saying that is a tough challenge, but that's one that if you have a really good producer who you trust, they can kind of be a sounding board. Norbert Kraft, who is a wonderful guitarist in his own right, he's been the producer for my CD and our duo CDs, and he always has a strong argument about what you want to open the CD with, how you want to have it flow, and what it's going to close with. And I think it helps to try different combinations, listen to the end of one piece and the beginning of the next, and see what works. But often, you know, if you want your CD to sound kind of like a recital, kind of like a program in itself, then you can somewhat follow what you would do in concert, have something attention grabbing, have something a little bit more thoughtful, maybe a bit of challenge, a little reward, something dreamy and something exciting to end off, you know? So if you can kind of think of the overall flow, then your CD can become, or your recording, I shouldn't say CD, your recording can become something that people can possibly just listen to as a whole, rather than like pulling just different tracks from. it
Yes,
becomes
absolutely.
a form of expression in itself, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and it's so pertinent these days because even the nature of this competition, it is provoking students to think about, I'm going to put these pieces together, I'm going to record them for a competition. So, you know, we're past the point of no return now, I think, very much, with people understanding the recorded media and the recorded sound. And, you know, we're going back to producing things like vinyl and CDs. So we are sort of doing that cyclical sort of nature with things. Now, we've got quite a lot of important people watching this stream, I must say, and I'll introduce you to them all as we go. But I have to give a shout out to one of the questions that we had that came in. And Eleanor put the question up, but it's really from Martha, who is my daughter. And it's past your bedtime, that's all I'm saying. Not really, it's Saturday night, you can be up late. But Martha has a great question, which also came up was, does Kianush have any other colours of guitar? We had that beautiful aquamarine kind of guitar lying on the sofa behind Kianush. Now, I know a lot of your students are watching, Kianush, but you've got to come on before the end of the night and let us know what was going on with that wonderful guitar that was behind you. Now, let's go and hear a guitar being played now. So over to Kate to introduce our third performer of the evening.
All right. Next, by the way, just a note, I liked Kianush's color choices in general. Okay, so next we're going to Bulgaria. We're meeting Viktor Papazchev, and he's going to be playing some work by actually Thomas Villotto. So starting with A Night in Bastille, this is a piece he first heard in live performance by Gabriel Bianco, and the piece is dedicated to Bianco, and it immediately ignited a spark in Viktor and a wish to learn it. He likes the effects, the creativity, the bluesy character, also something he's not used to seeing in classical repertoire, that it works great in the context of the piece, and the polyrhythm and the polyphony were aspects of the piece that seemed really impressive, and he wanted to challenge himself to try to find that balance where all of these contrasting elements end up complementing each other. So the second piece we'll be hearing is Leo Brouwer. It's a fuga, and it structurally resembles a Baroque fugue. He thought that was really interesting, especially during the exposition section. Also approached in a modernistic way with accents and syncopations in the subject, which obscure the strong beats and add character, which come up to be more recognizable in later sections. I'm fascinated with the harmony, with dissonance in ways that Viktor is not used to, the balance and contrast, a lot of that happening. And he just thinks the piece is a little bit short, but really dense with a lot of ideas to be expressed. And he's choosing this from the challenge to approach work with a strict structure in a free and creative way without damaging its structural integrity. And then the third piece will be El Último Trémolo, and that's also known, I love this title, Una limosnita por amor de Dios, which is basically a little money in the name of God by Agustin Barrios. This is a beautiful work. He says it's representative of the Romantic period. And for this one, he wanted to tackle the challenge of performing a piece that requires a respectful approach toward not only all core aspects of the tremolo technique, but also toward the melodic phrases and the harmonic progressions. And he wanted to make a warm environment here. And he said there's a lot of emotion in this work he wanted to try to capture. He's playing a 2016 Andres Di Marvi traditional cedar guitar. And he bought that in 2023, but he thinks it came from the Montenegro International Classical Guitar Competition in 2016. We asked him for a little information. He said it was really cold. He had a cold for a couple of days, and he had to warm up his hands with hot water continually through trying to concentrate in there. So that, I think, is a challenge for guitarists in general. We might want to talk about that when we come back. And finally, a brave soul with the pizza. As long as it's edible, Viktor is willing to try anything. Yes. Beautiful. And what a wide selection of music types there, all kinds of different sounds coming from Viktor. Tracy, do you want to talk about the sounds we had coming from Viktor there? Again, all of them so distinct.
Sure, yeah. I mean, those pieces were all from the last 100 years, I would say, and so they have a real contemporary bent. However, they are really contrasting and really demanding in different ways from the player. I feel that the violoncello has such a strong sense of rhythm. There's so much challenge inherent in kind of controlling the voices, the ostinato, the extended technique, kind of playing and generating sound from both the right and left hand, and making lines with both those hands at the same time, and often like three voices happening. And so that has its own challenges there. And Viktor seemed to have, like a sustained rhythmic drive in that piece, which was really attractive. The fugue, the Brauer fugue, is kind of a throwback form, and that has its own difficulties in the sense of every time you're bringing back the subject, you want to have it present, but do you have it standing out, or do you have the counter subject, or whatever is kind of also accompanying? Is that sort of the feature? So there's a lot of balancing in a musical way to be done with those types of pieces. And then, of course, the barrios, jumping in there with the tremolo is another technical challenge altogether. So Viktor's kind of set himself a very colorful and not an easy program. So great to hear all those pieces kind of back to back and see how Viktor makes his way through them. And I thought it was a great job.
Thank you, Tracy. And yeah, Emma, again, as Tracy said, is very challenging. Again, similarities because of the same 100 years, but also vastly different. What was your take on this little kind of mini concert from Viktor?
Oh, yeah, I really loved it. Something that I really like about adjudicating competitions is getting to hear repertoire that is new. And I hadn't heard Thomas Villeto's piece before. That was really great to hear on the program. And I think what I really liked about it is that all the pieces seem to be like really meaningful to the performer. Like I really got a sense that Viktor really liked the music that he was playing and really chose what was, just sort of meaningful music for him. And there's a lot of chit chat about what are competition pieces and what's good competition repertoire. But what I think is, when you play music that really speaks to you, music that you really feel suits how you play and your musical style and your temperament, that's the most effective thing you can do to show off your musicality and your chops.
That's a really, really good point. I maybe come to Stephen with your point that you made there, Emma, because you found that, I think, Emma, quite early on. You have such a strong identity as a guitarist, and I think Stephen, you do as well. Tracy, all of the jury actually, and we'll see that over the next couple of heats and tomorrow as well. But maybe to Stephen, how do you go about when you're that age, younger than we are, let's say? How do you go about striking out with that identity? Because that's a difficult thing to do. You could be at conflict with your teachers or conflict with assessment or examination.
Yeah, that's a tough little balance to make. And of course, especially if you mentioned being in conflict with your teachers, that can also often go sideways if you don't take or heed their advice. But in any case, what I think Viktor has done well here, and great point that Emma makes, something that I give advice to my own students all the time, is this question comes up: what's good competition rep? Well, in some cases, it comes down to timing. It's a very simple thing. You obviously need to mind the clock, but outside that, establishing a variety and program and playing something that you're passionate about, something that you can connect with, something where you can show a little bit of your feats of strength, so to speak, technically, and your sensitivity musically, your musicianship is important to get across. And I think that Viktor did that here with his program.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, just want to make a couple of observations as well after hearing a Thomas Villotto piece. Thomas is one of the guest artists at this year's Classical Guitar Retreat, where the in-person, the live final, after all these heats are done, that's where it takes place. So Thomas will be, I'm sure Thomas will be appearing as well. We've got the senior competition, we've also got the junior competition to adjudicate later on, and I'm hoping that Thomas might make a little appearance as well. He was a judge last year in this competition too, so it's great to hear a bit of his music performed live as well. Now, to introduce our fourth performer of the evening, we go to Norway, to Oslo, Andreas Foshal, and he's chosen two pieces to play. Primavera Porteña by Astor Piazzolla, arranged by Sergio Assad. And he says, Piazzolla's music was my introduction to classical music at the age of 12. And I've dreamed of performing it ever since. So this piece has been with Andreas for a while. And then the second piece, an unknown piece to me, I'm really intrigued to hear this piece, guitar solo from a Norwegian landscape by, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this roughly correctly. I'm sure I can be corrected in the comments. Øystein Sommerfeld. It's always been a slight disappointment to Andreas that Edvard Grieg never wrote for the guitar. This piece that he's going to play, guitar solo from a Norwegian landscape, it was composed in 1982 and it beautifully incorporates Norwegian folk melodies and dances, adapting them wonderfully to the guitar's lyrical qualities. So it's a really interesting piece. We're hearing so much tonight, new music that we haven't heard before. It's wonderful. Andreas's guitar was made by Andres Marvi, and he purchased it when he was quite young, and he had to travel to Poland by himself to pick it up, which was actually his first solo trip abroad. So unforgettable for sure, a core memory right there. I have lots of different interests, Andres says. He loves trying out new things. Currently, he's pursuing a double degree in computer science alongside his master's in classical guitar. And in his free time, he enjoys kayaking in the Norwegian fjords and dabbling in archery. And this is the one that got me. His preferred pizza topping is banana and curry powder. Don't knock it till you try it. That's what he says. Bravo, bravo. Wow, that was so enjoyable. I was really captivated all the way through that. I'm going to come to you, Emma, right off the bat about Andreas' performance. Your first thoughts there, just as we get to the end of that.
Yeah, it was a really committed performance. I mean, as you could really tell, he was really dedicated to the music, and it was really passionate playing, I thought, throughout both pieces. And I loved, he really, I guess at the same time as, showcasing his skills, he's also showcasing everything that the guitar has to offer, really digging in terms of all the dynamics the instrument has, and really showing us all the colors he's able to get from that instrument. So it was a really dynamic performance in that way. Really well done.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's coming in on the chat. We're seeing that, captivating energy, really in tune with his own playing and his own delivery style, which is so good to see. And, we're hearing more and more pieces this evening that, are new, certainly to me, and I think new to us as a panel as well. And with this Norwegian landscape, I don't know about you, Stephen, but I was kind of expecting, and it was ignorant of me, but I was expecting big, expansive, sounds. I was imagining something very, very Nordic, very Scandinavian in its style. And then, of course, there was dissonance and there was drive, and it caught me completely off guard. What were your thoughts about this piece?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. On first hearing, this was new to me as well. And I really enjoy hearing things that are new to me that have actually been around for a while. I think you said this piece was written in 1982. And in your mention of functional and non-functional dissonance was represented here. I thought it was actually in an interesting way a good pairing with the piazzolla, where you have piazzolla throwing in dissonance and minor seconds and such for color, and that was here. I thought the kind of chorale type section in E minor there in the middle of the piece was more what I was expecting, especially with the comparison to Grieg, but great program and very well executed.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a comment earlier that I didn't actually get the chance to put up on the screen, which was, I think, from Phil, and he asked, is it free choice? And it is absolutely free choice. There's no stipulation in this competition that everyone plays the same work or everyone plays a work from a particular era or anything like that. The only stipulation or suggestion is that they are contrasting works, and so far, obviously, we've heard a lot of that. People are really taking to that brief. And I think giving students and players the opportunity to just choose for themselves, we actually get, dare I say it, maybe a more enriching experience as listeners, as audience members, because they get to play the music that they're really committed to, which we've just seen from Andreas.
Now, Tracy, we were just talking about that again. This wide variety of sound. Emma talking about how it's like all the things that the guitar can do, and then Stephen talking about and Matthew both delving into this new material. What was your overall impression that you took away from that? Oh, you're muted. Sorry, I need to unmute your mic. There we go.
Sorry. I was going to say that it's interesting because the piazzolla is such a familiar piece to many of us, whereas this Norwegian piece is much less so. But there were kind of links between the two pieces in the sense that there were more lyrical sections and then more driving sections. And I feel like in pairing them, he's kind of shown us that, and he's also given sort of a template for his interpretation of the Norwegian piece and really interpreted it in a way that brought us through it so we could kind of feel like we knew where we were in the piece, even if it was the first time that we'd heard it. It certainly was for me. But I have to commend him on the real devotion to the creation of sound with both of his hands. He's doing everything he can to get this beauty of sound and this resonance out of the guitar. It takes a lot to play like that, and it really gives a lot. It communicates a lot to the audience. So I felt that was really strong in his playing, and I enjoyed both pieces immensely because of that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Boy, this has been, we are hearing so many fantastic things, and we still have more performers to listen to right now. So let's meet our next contestant, Abbey Felton. And she hails from Perth, Western Australia. and has chosen an Australian composer, Maria Grenfell. She'll be playing Atmosphere by Maria Grenfell. And she says, Abbey is passionate about championing the works of women and Australian composers. We'll also be hearing the Allemande from J.S. Bach, Lute Suite. And she's been pushing herself to learn more of Bach, to keep developing as a musician. I think that's interesting. A lot of people focus in on Bach to help develop different styles and things they can do. As to her guitar, she bought her guitar secondhand from someone who ended up playing the clarinet instead. She seems like it's a rather nice guitar for someone to buy and change instruments, but she's glad she did. As for a fun fact about Abbey Felton, there was a time when I could sing the entire Les Miserables musical word for word. Same, Abbey Felton. And finally, as for the pizza, you know, she keeps it to the basics. She likes good quality cheese, like buffalo mozzarella. That was a perfect comment from Giuseppe in the comments, such heartfelt playing from Abbey there. And again, in pieces true to her heart, something she really wanted to develop, and then someone she really wanted to celebrate. Stephen Mattingly, let's go to you. Talk to us about that heartfelt performance from Abbey Felton.
Sure, yeah, Abbey indeed gave a heartfelt performance, and I think the title of her first piece in the Grenfell, Atmosphere, it was very atmospheric, even her Bach. And I think Abbey is the one that mentioned she knew all of the words to Les Miserables and would sing them. And singing is something I think is very important for guitarists to partake in, especially in developing their interpretation. And something that Abbey brought to life there was the use of vibrato. Another thing I think would be very helpful for all performers, not just Abbey, to think about is sustaining long notes and holding on to that and not feeling in a hurry to move on to the next activity. That's a common thing on guitar. We pluck a note and it exists, but we're not letting it just be. And I think a little more of that would be good for all of us to keep in mind.
Great. And that singing, Tracy, are you feeling some of that singing showing up in the guitar as well?
Well, it was interesting because I kind of missed what the piece was called at first, and I had to ask what it was. And the thing that had been going through my mind was that she was really floating that melody above the accompaniment. And then when it was called Atmosphere, it felt so fitting the way that she was doing that. So for me, it was quite a beguiling interpretation of that piece. And that was a new one for me. And I really love the fact that she, not only brought us a new piece, but a piece by a woman composer, because there's really not equity in terms of male composers and female composers in presentations like this. So I credit her for that, to bring such an interesting piece with these beautiful sonorities. So for me, I feel like her playing along the lines of what you were saying, she has a really high standard of sort of conception and conviction about what she's playing. And I have no doubt that as she, develops as an artist, that's only going to grow. And those executions of those pieces are just going to bloom so much. So it's very interesting to hear her today, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And maybe to come to Emma, just building on some of the things that, both yourself and Stephen have said there. I was struck in the comments about Abbey also playing some Bach, so, okay, hitting the brief by the contrasting pieces, undoubtedly, even just in the time travel between them in terms of when they were written. But also this idea of keeping your head in the game by playing some what we would class more traditional repertoire, let's say. You got any thoughts, Emma, on that? This juxtaposition, Abbey didn't say it was just to contrast right now for programming. It was also for her to develop and for her to continue to learn.
I don't think I understand the question.
Just your thoughts. Your thoughts, How dare you disregard the premise of my question so flippantly in this rush? I'm just besmirched there. No, I'm just really wanting you to lean into a little bit of this idea that Abbey presented the Bach and then the Maria Grenfell piece, but she actually mentioned in her sort of description of why she was choosing them, because she wants to keep developing and keep learning. And I think it's important for guitar players to keep, all musicians, to keep something in their program that forces them to continue to develop, maybe in areas that they're not so comfortable with. I'm just intrigued as to your thoughts.
Yeah, I just enjoyed the choices. And I thought, I thought she was just doing such a beautiful job with both pieces. And of course, Bach is the go-to if we want to keep working for the rest of our lives. There's, that repertoire just offers so much for us to dig into year after year after year. And we know there's, so many artists that will re-record, Bach, the same pieces 10 years on, because they've, developed, a lot more with that repertoire. But I just thought Abbey brought a really good stage presence to both pieces. And I liked the way she chose works that were contrasting, but still, it wasn't like a slow, fast kind of contrast. You know,
Yeah.
she still sort of really kept within the mood she was creating, and I really enjoyed it.
There's great comments. I mean, she had her eyes closed, I think, for 90% of the performance as well. And we play an instrument where it's immeasurably easier if you have your eyes open, but it just shows you that commitment that you've all mentioned to sort of the musical ideas and the conception behind how she wants to perform the works. I love your point, Emma, about the fact people go back to Bach later in their life, re-record it as their technique maybe improves or their insights into music. And I certainly love this idea that we can still present very contemporary music, but we're learning from the older, the provenance, the history. We're learning ways to better express sometimes things that are very fresh and very new through that understanding of the old, the stuff that's behind us as well. So yes, thank you very much, Abby. This is, I'm blown away by the standard. This competition obviously had its first year last year, and the standard was really high. And I was sort of taken aback by the amount of people that, put their hard work and their effort in. And it's just the same again this year. It's really, really remarkable to see. And we're going to continue now with another fabulous performer. We're now going to Lisbon, to Portugal, from Western Australia there. And it is Enesh Souza who's going to perform for us now. And she's playing two contrasting pieces, the Fantasy Dramatique Les Départs by Napoleon Coste and Hika by Leo Brouwer. And she chose the two pieces because she loves playing and practicing them, and of course because they really contrast. Inês plays a cedar guitar by Kolja Panhausen, and she loves to teach kids guitar, but she teaches them in a language that she doesn't speak. So that must be a feat. I'm not quite sure how you do that. She says they're making good progress, so something must be going right there. And then an absolute classic here in terms of the pizza choice. What topping does Inês like on her pizza? A deep fried Mars bar, the classic, which makes me think Inês must have visited Scotland at some point for sure, because that's where you get the best deep fried Mars bar.
My goodness, all through the chat, they just kept saying, she makes it look so easy. And of course, we know it is anything but that. Steve, let's start with you. Making it look easy, but really some really complicated work coming from Enesh there.
Incredibly complicated. And so often the little noodly bits in the Brouwer works are just cast aside and it's just a blur of notes, but here we hear it with great clarity and precision. Also direction of line to recognize which are the small notes and which are the more prominent notes in the foreground. And what a pairing. I mean, nothing says or complements a piece about soldiers going off to the Crimean War like an homage to Takemitsu. But really the contrast there, I thought, was just brilliantly played out. And her sensitivity to the intonation in the Brouwer was obviously apparent there, and something I think could also be overlooked in in lesser hands.
Yeah, thank you. Again, just such dense and complex work. And Emma, you've had a lot of really interesting things to say about how one approaches a competition specifically, and in this kind of genre where we're watching as well. I mean, it is a visual medium as well as for our ears. And what did you think of all of that in terms of her setting up this beautiful camera shot too? On top of all of that, do you have any thoughts for people in general doing that or about her work there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought her shot looked great. And it was a really beautiful presentation, and she was really playing to the camera. Like, it was a really well done video. But I want to be cautious about thinking about things like that, because not everybody has access to like a beautiful room with great lighting to shoot in. So I know, from this competition last year, and I've judged loads of online competitions, and, we get videos that people have to shoot in their bedrooms or living rooms, or we've seen people that like have access to some cathedral to record in or something. So for me, I think it's great to just, sort of do your best with what you have. But I always want to really focus on the music, which in this case was outstanding.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a great point you make. I mean, it's like hard enough to be such a good guitarist. Do you also need to be, I don't know, Steven Spielberg as well, and bring that to the party too, I mean, that's where like, some people do have an eye for these things and it's fantastic. And like Emma says, some people don't, and it doesn't take away from the things that they're giving off. I mean, it was just a wonderful performance, really. I was really kind of almost transfixed the entire way through it. Tracy, what were your thoughts when you were listening to Enesh there? I mean, it's just so captivating, right?
Well, I thought when she started that, wow, I would have loved to have her as a teacher as a kid, whether she could speak my language or not. Because what a demonstration of incredible technical skill and ease, and all of it really in service of a musical idea. There was no kind of superfluous technique just showing off. It felt very, very solid. The sound was incredible. Every part of the technique seemed equally developed. Like, for example, when she would play the thumb lines, they were really strong and balanced with the accompaniment. And she could create such different moods with all the resources that she which were ample. So I thought it was great. Yeah, that's quite a tough act to follow, I'm sure, but great to hear her.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's wonderful. It's just testament to the level that we're hearing, through this whole heat. Now, I'm going to take just a minute here, or a couple of minutes, just to talk a little bit about the Gallery of Guitar competition, things like the prizes. Everyone watching will be interested to know about those, the sponsors, and of course that live final that takes place at the Classical Guitar Retreat. It's also a chance for our jury just to nip off and have just a little moment to clear their heads for a second. So, we've had such a great success with last year's competition. We brought 6 players all the way to St Andrews in Scotland after heats just like these. And those 6 players performed an absolutely beautiful concert in the Laidlaw Music Centre, the McPherson recital room there in St Andrews, which is where the Classical Guitar Retreat is hosted. And that goes on for a whole week, from a Tuesday all the way through to a Monday, just under a week. And on the Sunday, that's when we invite our finalists from this competition to come and perform. Now, for our young players that are all, so courageous in these performances that they're bringing us, we offer some really special prizes. We've got 3 main sponsors for the Gallery of Guitar competition. And the first is a guitar maker who actually logged in on the chat earlier on, Michael Ritchie, an incredible guitar builder from here in Scotland, and he builds my guitars. And if anybody has heard them on the videos, you'll know how beautiful they sound. And Michael is a guitar maker that this year is putting together a beautiful instrument. So our prize winner, our first prize winner, will win a beautiful handmade, beautiful artisan classical guitar from Michael Ritchie. Michael will, of course, be present at the festival, at the retreat for the whole week. And if you go on Gallery Guitar and you just take a look back at some of the more recent videos, you'll see me travel up to the Highlands in Scotland, up to Michael's workshop, and see him starting to put the guitar together. So you can actually go and see the guitar getting made. There is cash money, prizes, financial remuneration for our guitarists. So of course, that's something very important to every aspiring young musician. It helps you travel, it helps you get masterclasses, it helps you buy strings, get music, it helps you in so many ways as a young performer. So of course, there's financial prizes there for everyone too. The winner also gets invited to the retreat the following year to perform a concert. So that's why we have Eugen coming back, the winner of last year, to give us a beautiful concert and also to teach a little bit on the retreat as well. So it's really a great experience. You get so much that you can learn from, not just being a finalist and not just competing in these heats, but getting, that first place and getting a chance to come and be in a very professional environment and take that step up to the next level. Other sponsors that we have the wonderful Alba Guitar Beads, which is a Scottish guitar-based company that you'll see spreading all over the world these days. Alba Guitar Beads, they specialize in different types of accessories for guitar. So that can be anything from arm sleeves to make the guitar not slip around or your arm not stick to the guitar, guitar supports, guitar cases, all sorts of things. And they provide the case that Michael's guitar goes in. And Alba Guitar Beads, again, will be at the guitar retreat, and you'll get to see all the different weird and wonderful concepts they come up with, solving problems for us classical guitarists. Now, I will put links to, of course, Michael Ritchie's website and, of course, Alba Guitar Beads in the chat. So you can always go and have a little look and see what they're up to. And then the third sponsor is Augustine Strings, a string company that I play their strings, and I know many guitarists worldwide play their strings, and they really support the competition and support the retreat. And of course, they're absolutely beautiful strings and real innovators in strings as well. And you can see now that Augustine have this great profile, which we're actually seeing across the internet these days with their fantastic different series, the wind-up series where they're interviewing guitar players and starting to get lots of information out there. So that's our three sponsors: Michael Ritchie, the guitar maker, Augustine Strings, and Alba Guitar Beads. And all three lend a lot of help, not just in instruments, not just in accessories, but also in being really involved with the competition and helping with the presentation of all the players that you're seeing today. Remember that there are 2 more heats coming up tomorrow. So Sunday, tomorrow, check the Gallery of Guitar and you'll see heat number 2 and heat number 3, 8 players in each, and jury with us, Kate and I, presenting these players to you. So you're going to hear a lot more guitar over the next day or so. Weekend of guitar here at Gallery of Guitar. Now, our jury seem to be reassembling, which is wonderful to see. And I am going to see if we are all back. Yes, look, we're all here. We've all returned. Fabulous. And it's time for me to stop talking, me to hand over to Kate, and she will introduce our 7th player of this heat.
Matthew, we didn't leave for a moment. We were riveted with everything that you just had to say. Trust.
Absolutely.
Up next, we're going to hear from Maximilian Wörter, who is joining us from Tyrol, Austria. He's going to be playing some Leo Brauer, the Guitar Sonata No. 1, second movement. He chose this because he likes the ethereal sound a lot. I love this description. To Maximilian, this feels like lying on a field of wildflowers and listening to every single sound of nature. And then the second piece is Napoleon Costa's Fantasy on Themes from Bellini's opera Norma. He's a huge fan of the Romantic period in general. This is one of Maximilian's favorite pieces. He loves this because he feels it's very majestic and bright. His guitar was made by an Austrian guitar maker, and his teacher just called and said, "Hey, this maker has a new guitar," and he tried it out and immediately fell in love. My goodness, y'all guitarists are busy. In addition to guitar studies, Maximilian is doing a master's in economics and likes lots of garlic and olive oil on his pizza. Oh, some beautiful stuff from Maximilian. A lot of consensus from the chat is that there was very sensitive and expressive playing. Tracy, do you concur? Did the chat get it right?
Absolutely. I feel that one of the special things about Maximilian's playing is that, especially in the Brouwer, he played very expansively. It was very unrushed. And it's sort of another level, I feel, when you can kind of play with the decay of the notes and the silence, as well as, you know, kind of the presence of sound. And I feel like it's a brave choice to start with that piece because it is so open. And, you know, so if you miss one note, there's going to be a big hole in it, rather than a piece that's more busy, where if you do miss something, there's a lot of sound and activity kind of filling in the time, really. So it's very masterful, I feel, to start with that Brouwer piece. And with his sensitive style of playing, it really comes across in a communicative and serene way. So I was very impressed with that. Yeah.
I like that, communicative and serene. Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, Tracy has a way with words. It's great to hear all. There are quotable moments from everything that has been said here, Emma and Tracy. So, I'm just the fool offering my 2 cents, but thought of all of the pieces with the 6-string tuned to F. This is one of the best. Great choice. And you know, to be honest, in competition, we hear the Brouwer Sonata very, very, very frequently. Sonata 1, but seldom do we hear the second movement on its own. And it was a great display of the patience to let those notes sustain, and that pairing again here with the Costa. Like the Costa is such a great example of a composer where you can let loose some lyricism and show some technical prowess, and certainly was on display here. And I thought it was a great performance.
Excellent. Thank you. And Emma, a 2-part question for you. So I'd like to start just first with your notes on that performance.
Well, I just echo the previous notes. I thought it was really beautiful playing. It just really well controlled in the Brouwer. It was really such a great atmosphere. And I loved the Costa. I thought it was also really expressive playing, really clean. And you could really hear that both works were really well prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. And well prepared. Okay. I'm glad that gave me an excellent segue. So thank you. Because I really want to follow up on what we were talking about earlier when we talked about the camera setup and how we've had a couple of really beautiful camera setups here today, but that not everybody can do that when you're doing an online or a video competition, and you've judged many of them. So my question to you is there a general piece of advice for anyone, regardless of whether or not you have a cathedral to play in? What can you do to just kind of maximize your setup and do the best with what you got?
Yeah, it's I mean, these sort of video rounds for competitions, and kind of like everything else about competitions, are really designed to test us in a way, you know. But as far as the room goes and what you have to work with, I mean, we've all arrived at a concert or a gig where the room is not what we expected, or it might not be what we want. Like the sound might not be good, or just the setup might not be ideal. And you just have to go in and like do your best job anyways, right? You have to make the best of it. So if you have to shoot a video in a room that isn't your first choice, you know, if you don't have the cathedral available, I think the most important thing is that whatever the setting, you're just still treating it like a real concert space, and you're treating the camera like a real audience. You know, so even though you might be in a small room with a close camera, you still have to be projecting. You still have to be doing your best performance. And sometimes it can be, you know, you can get sort of really introverted with that kind of thing, and to kind of forget that there's going to be an audience watching. In this case, you know, we've got a global one. And so to really just, you know, bring your stage presence to whatever stage you happen to be on.
So it's not so much the background as it is you and what you're giving while you're performing.
Absolutely. And I mean, you should be able to play so well we don't see the background.
That's a good point. That's a solid point. Thank you. Take notes, everybody, for next year.
Yeah, well, I know I already see, quite a difference in approach from a lot of the competitors. It's nice that we're going to have some repeat people. Kianush earlier on, had competed last year, and there are other players that we're going to start to see as we go to the other heats who've actually performed before. And Tracy, just your thoughts as well there on Maximilian's performance.
Well, I feel again that he was just really quite a master with the silences and the decay of notes. I think with the cost, he started opening up towards the middle, I felt, dynamically, and I really liked that. I feel like if he wants to keep kind of performing this piece and really finding everything he can get out of it, I would continue along those lines because his phrasing is so beautiful. To support it with even more dynamic direction, I think would make it just unstoppable. So, yeah.
That's very interesting. So just like sort of that, when he started to put the foot on the gas a little bit and open up the sound and kind of let his fingers go a little bit, we sort of heard even more levels that he's potentially capable of.
Yeah, because his rubato is beautiful. Like the directionality of his playing was excellent. So, that's an accomplishment in itself. And then to bolster it even more with a dynamic, more of a dynamic range even would be really beautiful.
Maybe the fact I read in Maximilian's information when he was sort of explaining about the pieces and things, he said he's also doing a master's in economics, so he may be slightly risk averse, but also equally, I think, a genius, because what a guitarist needs is a master's in economics to survive this. I think everybody's nodding their head on the panel, and we're not joking there as well. For real in the music game. Like from A to Z, a master's in knowing how to look after your money. It's a very, very important factor. And it's interesting, I'm just reading some of the comments there. There was a comment coming from Jose. I think it's quite interesting. I'm kind of doing an Emma. I'm trying to understand the question a little bit here. It says, YouTube, how it treats sound contribute to the judge's decision. I kind of think maybe what Jose's saying there is something about, like, are we, if a video is, say, for example, recorded extremely well, and YouTube itself does put a little bit of compression sometimes onto the videos, and also, for example, someone's network connection, the bandwidth of their Wi-Fi, where they're listening to the performance. All of our judges here are sitting in very nice rooms, and they're listening very, very attentively and acutely to what's going on. And also, all the other videos from the other heat are all available for the judges to review at their leisure. So really, everybody listening, our experience of sound, how to record sound, the goods and the bads, the pros and the cons, we're so acutely aware of these things that, we are always judging. Like Emma was saying earlier on, doesn't matter if you're recording in a cathedral, recording in a bathroom, we're really zoning in and honing in on your craft and your sound. So even if, for example, it's the microphone on a camera, we can still tell when the colors are being achieved and the sounds are being drawn out of the instrument. And I think if you go back and you listen to the comments made by the judges this evening, you'll hear how much they're picking up on. So, the expertise that's on show here is always going to be able to see past a little bit of YouTube compression in this digital age that we have to put up with so much. Now, we come to our final performer of the evening, and it's Ryan Martin. And Ryan is from a place called Cumbernauld, which is just outside of Glasgow. And he has chosen to play for his first piece, the first movement of the Sonata in F major by Anton Diabelli. And for the second piece, Nikita Koshkin's Usher Waltz. Very contrasting. I've chosen to play them because Ryan heard Martian Dilla play the Diabelli at a classical guitar retreat back in 2015, and he needed to learn it. He was just hooked. And then the Usher Waltz has been one of Ryan's favourite classical guitar pieces. When he first heard it played in concert, it stood out to him because it used techniques that at that time he'd never seen before. Michael plays a guitar by Michael Ritchie, a spruce top guitar. He's a massive fan of all things Japanese, and he hopes to go to Japan potentially next year. And he's currently trying to learn some Japanese, but it's proving very difficult, which of course we know it is. And he has a bit of a controversial opinion when it comes to pizza. He doesn't like cheese. he genuinely thinks it's the worst.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. It is rare that a piece of music can just kind of make you laugh randomly, just kind of in the middle of a bunch of other complicated things. There was so much contrast happening just in that one piece, not to mention the contrast between the two. Tracy, let's start with you and comments on Ryan's fascinating pieces there.
Yeah, those are some great pieces, and he's really taking inspiration for some great guitarists as well. Like Martin Dila is a wonderful player, and for him to be inspired by Dila's performance is so valuable. I feel like when we really connect with another guitarist performance, we start learning, you know, what we value as artists, and you know that helps us to learn, you know, who we are as artists. And I think that's something that we don't think about that much in music necessarily. But, you know, in visual art, the great masters, you would have apprentices who would copy very meticulously the works of the masters in order to learn how to make those sounds and shapes and colors and everything. And I feel like that's something that, you know, taking that kind of inspiration when you hear a performance that you really love and learning those pieces, and then taking the time to really listen to what that artist is doing to kind of bring what you love across is so important. And as you know, young people now, you have YouTube, you have videos of everything, you can hear anyone you want, but earlier generations like mine, we had to kind of listen to the record and try to hear, what is he doing? How is that artist making that sound? And what is the shape? And we had to really train our ears to get like the exact sound that we wanted from the inspiration of great artists of the past. And so I think it's really valuable to look into why we love an artist's work and kind of delve even more into the music. So that's a wonderful inspiration that Ryan has had. I think there were some great moments in his playing. There were some really good crescendos up to high moments. There was some wonderful harmonics. And I feel like the more that he delves into Dila's and other artists' performances to see how they're doing what they're doing, that even more that he can get out of the piece. But wow, what a level of this competition.
Yeah.
This has been quite an amazing few hours to hear these young guitarists play. This is amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And then taking that inspiration and still making it your own and playing it in your own way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that these great masters lost anything of their own, you know, inspiration and originality by training themselves in the craft. You know, it just shows you what is possible, and then what you resonate with the most and how you learn to understand something begins to be your own style, right? You're kind of using inspiration from lots of sources and reacting and kind of blending what you feel is important and what you value, and that makes your own sort of artistic vision, I feel.
I love that. Stephen, how did the artistic vision work out for you there? What were you thinking?
Yeah, well, there certainly is an artistic vision, and one that's kind of imbued in the piece itself. In the case of the Koshkin, being that it's based upon the pre-existing story of Poe, but whether you know that or not, I think kind of picking up on something that Tracy was mentioning, I love that she brought in the idea of the visual arts and apprenticeship. Certainly, Martin Dila is someone who I take inspiration from, and any artist that I hear, regardless of their medium, is one that I take inspiration in. And advice that I often give to younger performers is to remember not just to be inspired, but to inspire. So to try to give the performance that you think would be inspiring to an audience member, whoever they may be. And that's something that I think that is well worth finding, and we have here in this heat tonight. It's been great to hear all of these wonderful performers.
Well said, well said. Now, Emma, if I could just come to you, just for our final thoughts on Ryan's performance there, and then after that, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Ryan's performance. And what stuck out to me the most was that I thought the clarity of his intentions was really strong. And I really like this. I really like being able to hear what an artist wants to say with their interpretation. I want to hear also what the composer's intentions were. And I think it was really coming out in Ryan's playing, like what he wanted to do with the pieces.
That's excellent. And it's so nice to hear you all talk about, the things that he can do to sort of exaggerate these things and go that little bit deeper, finding that artistic voice through, like you say, copying, contrasting, being inspired. And I love Stephen's idea of inspiring as well. Now, that is us. We've had 8 fantastic players in this first heat. And we've also had such great insight from our panel here, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, but also from the folks commenting as well. And just as Ryan was finishing, people were kind of summing up this first heat a little bit. And we had this great comment from Fordyce 8. We have been treated to a feast of guitar music, such a variety of style interpretations performed by a fantastic group of young, talented, enthusiastic guitarists. Thank you for sharing your music. That's a fantastic comment. I love this one as well from Giuseppe. So worth isolating myself from the rest of the family tonight to follow this instead of the Eurovision Song Contest. I am actually quite interested in Albania's entry into this year's Eurovision, so I will be going and getting that on catch up.
Yeah, don't spoil us. Tell us nothing. We don't know yet what happened.
This is our Eurovision, and Giuseppe is obviously coming to the Classical Guitar Retreat because he's going to be very glad to listen to the finalists live in St Andrews. Phil, who's been commenting through the night and commenting with some great insights, amazing playing by all, and here he goes, he's nailing his colours to the mast here. Phil's favourites: Kianush for his sound, Andreas for his energy, and Enesh for her virtuosity, and Maximilian for his sensitivity. Absolutely. And then Giuseppe coming back. Thank you again to all 8 contestants for an amazing display of talent. And also thank you to the judges and hosts. It's been a great evening. Well, I'm so glad that everybody has been having a good time listening to these performances. And I hope you've enjoyed the way in which we've presented them and talked through everyone's performances. Tracy, Emma, and Stephen, thank you so much for your advice tonight and your thoughtful advice. I know it's important to all the guitar players, not just the ones that you were actually commenting on every time. I think everybody listening will get something from your comments. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Happy to do
Actually, some of you are going to be back as well. So we can't get rid of some of you. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be coming back. So you're going to have to think of some other things to say if you're doing any of the other heats as well. And our judges tonight and in the next 2 heats will be actually reviewing every single performer to give it that parity where everybody will have seen everyone's videos. So that gives it that great consistency of judging throughout the whole 24 players. Now, Kate, when are we back tomorrow?
Tomorrow is going to be an incredible celebration of guitar because we have 2 heats tomorrow. So it is going to be a banner day. All you get your ears and your eyes ready. So we have 2 heats. Heat number 2 is at 3 p.m. GMT. Y'all work out your own time math. And the third heat is at 7 p.m. UK time, GMT. And again, we've got 8 guitarists in each of those heats, and no one envies any of the judges trying to work this out because, as you could see, we had so many stellar performances, and this is just the first heat. We've got 2 to go, and yet there's still only going to be 6 in the grand final. So it is going to be absolutely marvelous, however this turns out. So do not miss it. It's going to be a hot competition. 2 heats tomorrow.
Absolutely. And all this GMT, BST stuff, British summertime. I learned something new today. Stephen pointed out that GMT and BST are something different because we're in summer now. As you can see by my red face, we're actually seeing that big yellow ball in the sky that we call the sun. We occasionally see it for a couple of weeks every year. So we're in British summertime now. I always set my watch by YouTube. So if you go on to those live streams for Heat 2 and Heat 3, it just shows you exactly when it starts. But listen, without any further ado, I'm going to release you all, and of course, our panel of judges who have spent all evening with us. Thank you all very much here on the live stream, and thank you very much to our 8 fantastic performers, and see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Tomorrow.